Hi everybody, my name is Mariam Radi, and I thank you so much for putting this together and letting me be a part of it. Fun, I've got some pretty big shoes to fill up here. That was a great presentation. I was recently awarded the Deal of the Year at the Property Investor Awards. I was also awarded Young Investor of the Year and Short Lease Deal of the Year. I'm the only person to ever win 3, which is really exciting. And I'm going to talk you guys through my deals. So today's presentation is going to be a case study of the deal that had got me here. Mariam Radi, who I am a little fish in a big pond at the moment. I'm learning and absorbing a lot from the people around me, but I learn quick and I absorb fast. So everything that I managed to learn over the years, I regurgitated into real estate. I went to university and I got a law degree, and I went back and I got a bachelor's in international law, and I majored in human rights. And then I kind of sold out and worked for investment banking, bravely. But, kind of like Schwan taught me a lot about numbers. I've got a book coming out. I'm Hillary Council's arch nemesis right now because I'm trying to do stuff that doesn't fit their vision. And in one way or another, I kind of relied on all of these things to get me where I am, but mostly my law degrees. Now, the deal is a commercial to residential that I bought for $96,000. I spent $45,000 on it, and the end value was $425,000. Now, when it comes to the rents, when I put this together, we'd only been renting it out a couple of months, and we're doing short-term lets, so the numbers aren't as reliable. So on a bad month, we'll get like $1,700. On a good month, we managed to get $2,800. So I could have an average there, but it's doing really well, and that's what it looked like. I had a heart attack when I showed up from Saudi, and that's what it looked like. They'd removed the entire front. But that's mid-development. The property in question is both a freehold and a leasehold, and so I acquired the freehold first and then the leasehold. How I came about to it was I wanted to invest in property, and I'd done a couple of flips up north, and I did okay with them, so I got some of my money back. I got some design, some kitchens, but I was still very cautious of going into big developments because you don't know what you don't know. And I was really young at the time. I was like 22, 23. So I was on Rightmove looking at buy-to-lets, and I came across this 15-bed HMO in Greenwich, and I ran the numbers, and it looked like they were selling it cheap. So I'd sold off some of my properties up in the north, and I had some cash sitting in the bank. I thought that it'd be safe for me to buy a buy-to-let in London, and with the market increasing, maybe I'd be able to refinance and I'll make some money along the way. So that was my thought process going into it. I went to a viewing of the HMO, and there were all these guys in like big old suits, and I was just completely ignored. I put in an offer and it was ignored, and the property came back on auction, actually. I came back on Rightmove, but it kept coming back because these sales were falling through. So I sent the vendor an email, and I put in an offer of around $80,000 below market price. I thought at this point, there must be a very big problem, and they're very desperate to sell. They accepted my offer, and we began the conveyancing. It was like 2 months into conveyancing, and I was trying to get funding, which is hard enough because I didn't know the people that I know now that would help me secure funding. So at the time I was like 23, trying to seek out a big old hefty loan. And my lawyers were sending her lawyer's email, but they weren't getting responses. This is because she hadn't hired a lawyer for about 2 months because she thought that we were gonna pull it out as well, just like everybody else. And I went telling you, I heard we did another viewing for property, and then I uncovered the problem with the property and why it kept going back. So essentially, this big old HMO, which ran next to a hairdressing salon, she was illegally renting out the basement of the hairdressing salon next door. She owned the freehold to both, but she was only selling the HMO. So if you buy this property, you're inheriting the lawsuit because legal responsibility transferred with ownership. You would lose a room, you would get sued for illegally utilizing the neighbor's property. And a lot of lenders probably don't want to take that kind of gamble. But I had a law degree, and I kind of understood who was in the right, who was in the wrong, and I had enough property understanding to make a plan moving forward. Now, she kept explaining to me this little thing called adverse possession. Now, she wasn't using the words, she was just explaining the terms, which is she's been doing this for over a decade, and therefore the room is rightfully hers. And that was her whole argument. Now, adverse possession essentially means that if you occupy area of space, land or property for over a decade, the government will just give it to you. So it is a real thing. She's not wrong about it. I just didn't think that she was gonna win it. I mean, anybody know why adverse possession is a thing that exists? Why will the government just give you a property if you use it for 10 years with terms and conditions?
It was after the war, and there are lots of invasive properties that people returning from the war. They necessarily didn't have somewhere to live, so the adverse investor was unable to occupy a building where the irregulars may have passed away for whatever reason.
I love that answer. I've never heard of that answer before. I don't want to say it's wrong, but I couldn't use. That is not what they taught me on law school.
Well, they called me
There's terms of. Does anybody know any other reasons why? Like in modern day, you know that the previous owner didn't die in World War II. Who might have risk possession into this?
Could they can property or on property?
Yeah, that's pretty much. I mean, you're pretty much both correct on that. So essentially, when a property is empty, it might be attracting vermin, trespassers. It's bringing down the property value to property scored to it. It's inhabitable, so nobody's paying rent inside of it. It's not generating anything into the economy. You have a housing crisis, and a mixture of all of these things makes it that empty properties are undesirable. If you are coming in and you're utilizing this property, you're generating something into the economy, then the government will just give it to you. But there's terms and conditions, like you have to occupy for about 10 years, that you have to have uninterrupted occupation, that it has to be blatant, you can be hiding in somebody's house, claiming adverse possession, there has to be bills in your name, there has to be a defined order. So there are conditions to it, but it's not impossible. And I remember when I was at university, there was this case of this farmer who occupied an area design, I think it was in Scotland, and that area had been purchased by a Chinese company a long time ago, and I think they wanted to build something on it, but they never got around to it. So they completely abandoned it. The dad came and built a fence and just lived there for a really long time, and then claimed adverse possession, and they gave him the property, the land, and the land was actually worth it. Couple of million, to be honest. I think it was like 6 million or something, and you just got that. So it is a thing that exists, but in this case, with it being commercial, it being in the basement, these conditions will then be difficult to break. These are a couple of the T's and C's that anybody's interested in claiming adverse possession. When it came to acquiring the freehold, I didn't think I was going to fight for a case of it. You can fight for as a property, the whole adverse possession thing. I thought you have to do blatant occupation and you have to prove that the owners didn't really know. I thought, if the owner of the leasehold comes forward and says, I knew you were there, I just couldn't get you out, kind of throws her case out. They say I couldn't operate my business because you were there, throws her case out. With her renting it out as a HMO, it's difficult to prove some of the requirements. But I did some digging into the leasehold, and I discovered some things that I thought would make this property pretty profitable if I pursued it. I spoke to the owner of the freehold, and I said to her, if you throw in the freehold title for free, then I will take legal responsibility of this entire thing, and I will pull out the sale. Now, does anybody say, I think that kind of red flags on what I just said, like give me the freeholds for free, and I'll take responsibility?
That have to be consideration.
No, legal responsibility transfers an ownership anyway. I would have been responsible if I bought the HMO. So I would have bought it or renting out to evict that tenant. So with her giving me the freehold for next door, she could have sold it to me, and I still would have been liable for it. That's the problem I'm as a lawyer. So she's throwing the freehold title to the hairdressing salon for no additional cost. And at this point, I already knew that the leasehold had only 50 years left on it. And as you know, with leaseholds, the longer that you retain them and you don't renew the lease, the property value can dip. And if you don't renew them for long enough, they can become unmortgageable. This property was in a state of disrepair as well. And there's a dispute with the freeholder. So I knew, as unattractive as this HMO was to sell, the hairdressing salon next door was even more unattractive. And the leasehold owner would probably just want to sell it. He wasn't even operating business in it. Did some digging on the leasehold owner, and I found out that he's in prison or because he declared bankruptcy, and all of his assets were seized by debt recovery, which was great because now I know nobody's going to fight this. Oh, great. When it's, I knew nobody was gonna fight this. All they want to do is sell. Well, now I came to a different problem. They want to sell for as much as possible, and I want to buy for as little as possible. I completed on the HMO at this point and was up and running. I was doing like small changes here and there. I set off on acquiring the leasehold to the hairdressing salon next door. They have 50 years left on it. It's like 75 square meters. It has garden access into my HMO's garden and has a basement that it can't access because of locked doors. Oh, purchased. Okay, that was like a little spoiler, even though you guys know the numbers already, but I put them an offer of around 100,000, and I issued 7 letters of claim of how they violated the lease. I studied the leasehold at this point. And anybody know why I drafted up like 7 letters? One was like, property in a state of disrepair. They had, I think, ground lines. I think they tried to change the use of the property at one point. I didn't mention that we were renting out our basement. If that's something they want to bring up, then we'll have a conversation about it. But at the beginning, I was just pointing out all the ways that they had violated their responsibilities to me, and I did that 7 separate letters of claim. Does anybody know why I chose to do that and not send 1 letter with 7 bullet points?
Does she have to address them all, right?
Well, you have to, yeah, but they have to address it all by putting 1 letter or 7. If you're a lawyer, you know that that doesn't mean anything. If you said 7 letters or 1, it's the same thing. But I'm not a lawyer. I know on an auction website, you want to get on the property, seeing 7 different letters, like 7 different legal disputes, it has a different impact. So I sent this and I gave them an offer, and they rejected my offer. They didn't even reject it, they just completely ignored it and put the property on auction. When you put an initial offer, typically this is like the lowest you think a property is gonna go for. I thought they'd come back with like 150, I'll make that in the middle somewhere. I set aside about 150 for acquiring the leasehold, but because they just rejected, I called the auction house and I told them about the dispute between the 2 properties, told them that I'm the freeholder, and informed them on everything. They then disclosed all of my letters of claim onto the auction website, and it deterred away potential buyers, and that's how I managed to get it for 96. It was amazing, because that was significantly lower than how much I'd set aside. That meant that I could just go in and convert it into a 1-bedroom HMO. Now I know it looks terrible, but it's on Monday, so it's still nice. Our HMO just, and the hairdressing salon has the shutters on it, so you can see they're very, very close together. We hit a commercial to residential. Now, under Class MA, you can do commercial to residential by permits and developments. One of the reasons why this is a thing, and Ranjan, I kind of think I saw this on one of your videos, is because after the 2008 market crash, I think it was, a lot of people lost their job and a lot of offices were empty, and the government came up with like a scheme where you can convert commercial to residential so you could utilize the office space, but they didn't regulate it.
It's nothing to do with the nice feeling, but for more.
I don't think Jackie does it.
Well, Chris said them right on that, but I go back to like 10 feet because of the World War II. It does.
But yeah, but they didn't regulate it at the time. And so, when you're on Rango and you see this weirdly divided property with rooms with no windows and whatnot, this is because landlords were converting commercial to residential with very little regulations. That changed in recent years, where if you want to do a Class MA conversion, you have to make sure that more than 50% of the bedroom has sufficient light. You have to get noise tests. You have to make sure that there's consequences, so there's no parking. There's a little criteria, and once you meet it, you can convert commercial to residential. Internally, anything you want to do to the outside, you will have to apply for full planning. So this is not to do with this, but typically what a lot of developers will do is they'll apply full planning, put in some windows and doors, and then apply a PD and convert it under Class MA to residential. That's just a little tip for y'all. And we did it. We converted the commercial to residential in Class MA. We didn't really need to make any changes outside. We already had a front door with a hairdressing salon, and the windows were big enough that the property had more than, I think it was 60% natural light. And as far as the noise goes, because it was right next to a bunch of residential properties, you could always use the argument of, these were running fine, so although it might be a little bit noisy, we're gonna put double glazing and when you're in Zone 2 London, it should be okay. Now, the development was pretty easy, to be honest, because of the way that the property was structured, this being the floor plan. You can see the before is on the right-hand side. We just had to put some partition walls. It was a hairdressing salon, so where the sinks are was where we built the kitchen. There was already a toilet in the back. So as far as conversions though, I think this was probably one of the easiest. But now it is where I made a mistake, because I didn't back check after my architect when they drew up the floor plans. I usually draw online floor plans, but they submitted this. And is there anything about this that anyone can point out that kind of made me never submit a floor plan without reviewing it first? No? Now I'm making me feel better about myself, Rob.
It's got traffic on the left, near the front of the building.
No, actually, there's stairs coming out of the bathroom into the basement. And that's like right in the bathroom. Because we realized that the hairdressing salon had its own basement, and the HMO was never renting out their basement. That lady never went into the hairdressing salon. She never checked. She just kind of, I don't know where she got it from, that she just had a couple of floor plans and assumed that she was renting out the basement. So there was no adverse possession and no legal dispute. It was just a misunderstanding. So once we found out, once we found out it was basement, I was like, okay, you guys have to put in some stairs to it. And I don't know why they put it in the toilet. I think the seeker went a million places to put it. But yeah, this is what they did. So I have to rejig the floor plan a little bit. And the little before photo, so it was very run down. It had these beautiful arches though, because it was built a really long time ago, back when there was arts and architecture. Now all modern does go like copied and pasted. And this is what it looks like now. I'm really proud of it. We've got it up on Airbnb. It's in Greenwich, so it's like a 15-minute walk from the Greenwich Village and about an 8-minute train ride to Tower Bridge, so it's really attractive to professionals and tourists. This is a recap of the numbers. Slightly, now I managed to turn this all around. From when I acquired the leasehold to when I finished it, and want to say it was about 4 or 5 months. Could send my team in immediately and it just got cracking, and I had a lot of fun with it. But it took, from acquiring a leasehold, when acquiring a freehold to a leasehold, it was about a year and a half. But once I got my hands on it, the turnaround was pretty quick. What is next for me? I've been in development for, I want to say about a year and a half now. I counted from when I began this, because what I did before is I don't think any more complicated than what people are renovating their own houses. And what a couple of terraced houses up north in Manchester, and like changed the bathrooms and painted them, and it was really kind of cute, to be honest. But it only started to get serious when I started to do stuff like this. Since this, I worked on HMOs, which has, again, just been, it's been a learning curve. And we've got about 2 more in the pipeline. I've got 4 mentees that I'm constantly dishing everything that I learn, I just give to them. And the next steps are that I'd like to develop 4 others. So I'm still rejigging my portfolio, moving my cash around. We've completed, I say we, it's like me and like my team, on about 3 HMOs that we've been running. I should include the photos, but I really was like case study mode that I put this together. I'm about 3 more in the pipeline, and I'm definitely going to be showing more of my stuff on social media. That's like my little New Year's resolution this year. But yeah, send the camp in questions.
Andiamo postman.
Any questions?
Joe, next one, so we know where to come. Next, any question, Oxford? John?
A question on the adverse possession title on building the basement next door, or the freehold next door. Had that completed, because it used to be 12 years, then it has to go to a judge, a key, then assigns Twicko years. It's a little bit more complicated in this. You were saying, has that changed 10 years?
Oh, we never claimed our first possession. That was just what the previous owner was, that was her gospel, how she was going to fix the issue. So I just blocked the HMO and that room was included. Because she included the freehold to the property next door, I had the freehold to the entire estate, so we never actually pushed for that.
Because if she wasn't, you would have to begin again in 10 years.
Yeah.
Immediately at the possession price.
Yeah, but it, to be honest, didn't really make a difference because I was never going to go down that route. My idea was always that I would purchase the leasehold. It was just buying it up.
Time for one more question. Yep, Jade.
Yeah, I was going to say refinancing and leads, and I don't know if you do any sort of title splitting things.
No, the freehold has not been, so I canceled the leasehold. The whole thing's been integrated. I'm getting a reevaluation. First on the flag alone, then I got a reevaluation on the entire conflict. And I'm getting, some cash refinance.
For the banks that getting happy with.
Yeah, it was just regular, like you can do building control certificates and whatnot. But no, they were more than happy because I already owned the freehold, so it was easy to go and cancel the leasehold and just.
So guys, Mariam's here for fully the break and after, so do feel free to reach out to her, and she doesn't bite. But yeah, guys, was that inspirational? Was that useful?